see what's going on here. Yes. Yes, I think so. Okay, there's always this delay. It's like 10-second or so delay. Maybe longer. Maybe it's like a 20-second delay. I think Truth Radiator is here. And I think that comment is from today. It's yay! Okay, yeah. Hot Potato is here. Hello. How are you guys doing? Anything new and exciting in your world? S9 is here. Hello, hello. So I hope I got my internet stuff all figured out. I actually have the internet people coming over tomorrow to upgrade. The most obnoxious phone call ever. They're coming over tomorrow to upgrade. So after like a flippin' 30-minute conversation with them, the lady is like, "Oh, for $5 more, you could basically double your speed." So, like, you could have saved us both like half an hour, just done that. But yes, so hope we'll see how it goes tonight. And I reset my modem, and hopefully that'll take care of everything. So let's see. S9 says she's been having a rough week. Doug is here. Hippie Go Lucky, that's a cute name. Hippie Go Lucky is here. So what's going on, S9? What's making your week rough? What's making your week rough? Hot Potato says she's hooked on Duolingo. Oh, good. Lauren says the stream seems much better today. Good. I am. I'm hoping so. I reset my modem. I thought I reset my modem last week, but actually I was like unplugging it and plugging it back in, thinking that was the same thing, and it's not. So no, there you go. So yeah, according to AT&T, I do not know what I'm doing. And she had to walk me through how to reset my modem, and I'm actually also upgrading my internet tomorrow. So hopefully it won't be an issue. Good. Overcoming understanding is here. And she says, yes, it's way better. Oh, good. Good, good, good. Oh, Verizon is on strike. That is interesting. She says, we need a mortgage. Yeah, I could see how that could be stressful. She says, yeah, it stinks. We could lose this property. Hippie Go Lucky says Dana and technology always cracking me up. Yes, it's, you know what it reminds me, like my issues with technology remind me of that old Saturday Night Live skit. Do you remember that with, and I forget who the actor, Phil Hartman, I think it was, who, caveman lawyer. Do you remember that? And he was a caveman, and he would go to court and be like, I don't understand your modern ways. I am just a caveman. Like that's how I feel with doing YouTube. Um, okay, so S9, back to your mortgage and the house and everything. Well, it takes them a while, but banks, here's the thing. Banks are not in the business of owning property. They're in the business of financing property. And so it often takes them a long time to actually, oh, wait a minute. Are you talking about getting a mortgage, or are you talking about them like evicting you from your property and foreclosing? Yeah, Hot Potato says these streams are rough on sleep for us Europeans. Yeah, you guys are troopers, man. I tell you, and it's so incredibly humbling and honoring that you would stay awake or wake up in the middle of the night for this. Like that just um, blows me away. So, thank you, thank you for being here. Oh, interesting. Hot Potato says, I'm learning Dutch on the Duolingo app I mentioned. It's a quirky language. Yeah, that's impressive. Good for you. Overcoming Understanding says, yeah, I thought you were there. She says, oh my God, did I miss a hangout with her and Spartan Life Coach? When was this? Yeah. Spartan Life Coach Richard and I did a hangout. When was it? I also have no sense of time. I think it was Thursday, Wednesday. It was last week. The video is maybe I just assume I see Overcoming Understanding. I see you. I feel like I see you everywhere, um, and so in my mind you're just there. So yeah, it's up on his channel. He sent me the link and I still need to I need to upload it so I can put it on my channel. But if you go to Spartan Life Coach, you can watch the interview. Talk about like staying up late. He had been training for a triathlon earlier and was functioning on like 3 hours of sleep and then did the interview. We did it at, I don't even know, like 7 or 8 o'clock my time. So I think it was like 1 in the morning for him. So he was exhausted. And we had talked ahead of time and we were like, okay, yeah, we're just gonna, 45 minutes. It's gonna be great, and we're just gonna kind of just do a Q&A kind of thing, and that's how it'll go down. And it ended up being like a really long, a really long time. It way blew past 45 minutes because I was nervous, and he totally humored me, and I was rambling on, and yeah, I haven't gone back to rewatch it because I make myself really like nervous and insecure and crazy when when I do things like that. So I I really don't even remember a lot of what I said. So yeah, that it was interesting. So that interview with him, and I'm going to announce this. I need to go look up the date, but I will be interviewing him on my channel next month. So my goal is to read his book. He has two of them out. The first one is How to Take Revenge on a Narcissist, and then the other book is on, I was looking at it today on Amazon, emotional, shoot, I should have written down the title. Something about emotional flashbacks, like how to prevent or avoid emotional flashbacks. So I'd like to have one of those one of his books read by the interview next month, and then we can discuss it. So yes, Hot Potato asks, hey Dana, how come you changed the name of this channel? So rewind, let me back up a little bit. So lots of things happened after that interview with Richard. I had been, yeah, well, okay, people are talking about the interview with Richard. They said, Dana, you didn't appear nervous at all. I do I think a pretty good job of hiding it because I am. I actually, it's, yeah, I still get really nervous on video. I have to just pretend that I'm not being recorded. But that was my first interview and first kind of collaborative video with another YouTuber, and super, it was a great one because he was so laid back and just he's just so go with the flow that it's I couldn't have asked for a better person to do a joint video with for my first time out of the gate. So Martine says, girl, you got the poker face for sure. Yeah, well, I get I get going on this topic, and I'm just, it's something I'm so passionate about that once I can kind of forget that I'm being filmed, then it's like just you're just talking. But yeah, yeah. So okay, so let's go back to. Oh, and before we go there, wasn't Max cute? For those of you that saw the interview, at the very end, he had Max, his dog, come on, and we all found out that Max likes to eat carrots. So I thought that was super cute. So let me, yeah, Hippie Go Lucky says, we love Max. Max is such a scene stealer. Yes. Yes, he is. He is an awesome dog. Martine says, of course, Richard always charms people with his dog. Yeah. So let me kind of cover a little bit of what happened after the interview or the joint video, whatever you kind of want to call it. Um, so I had mentioned a couple times over the past maybe 3 or 4 months, I've had issues with, just some creepy people bothering me and stuff. And so after the interview, and Richard had said, "Hey, he's like, you mentioned a few things that were fantastic, and had wanted some people to make them into memes, which was awesome." And so people were doing that, and they were using my real name, and then I totally freaked. And just this is all on me. Like, this is stuff I should have thought about before this, but I didn't. I'd been dragging my feet on it. So anyways, I ended up changing changing my name to the name that I had been talking about changing it to, which is Dana Morningstar. So that has been huge, like huge, huge. So my Facebook name is now changed to that. That's going to be the name that I'm going to be using from here on out. So it's great because in part it honors my mom and my grandmother. So I have peace with it, but it's just a weird feeling to change your name. So the other big change, drum roll, please, has been with the website. So if you notice, this YouTube channel and my website and everything else is slowly changing over to the new name, which is Thrive After Abuse. So I had been kicking around the idea of changing the website name for a while. And there's a couple different reasons about that. Or for that. So, I'll just kind of run through them here a little bit. No one can spell narcissist. So I was continually having to spell the website name, and then more so than that, I mean, that was just kind of one of those things, like every single time I would tell people, nobody, that got old. But perhaps, I mean, definitely more important than that was a lot of people, and I get it, and I totally, totally, totally get it. A lot of people were still really hung up on the word narcissist. So I was getting tons of questions about, Dana, I don't know if this person's a narcissist or not. And, they have all of this like really outrageous deal breaker behavior, but I don't know if they're a narcissist. And then, but like I said, I get it because I was there too, where I really was hung up on, but are they a narcissist or are they just a selfish, crazy asshole? Like, which one are they? And really, it it doesn't really matter because they're both incredibly destructive. So, um, yeah, that was another reason. And then there's always talk with the DSM and everything changing, getting rid of the diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. This is something that they kick around every couple years. Every time they do a revision to the DSM, it was what was kicked around in this last revision, and it was taken out. This does not mean that there is no such thing as narcissistic abuse. It just means that kind of revamping the terminology, sort of like what they did with the terms sociopath and psychopath. They combined both of those terms into one term, which is now antisocial personality disorder. So I was just kind of thinking, you know what, down the road, if they do end up getting rid of that word, it's going to be even more confusing for people. And this is already a confusing enough topic. So that was another reason. And then I think perhaps the probably one of the, again, like one of the bigger ones was has just been this intense heaviness with the site and with the direction of the site. And so much so that, you know, when probably back in, it was before November, October maybe, September, October, November, yeah, October-ish, I really was just totally overwhelmed with the website and with the amount of emails and with and if this is just a very heavy subject matter. And so I knew, I mean, after doing like tons of soul searching, I kept getting sick. I was having a hard time getting out of bed. I just exhausted like all the time, and really thinking about what what needed to happen, like what needed to change, because I know that I want to do this with my life. Like this is, I love doing this. I just needed to figure out a way to like just kind of detox from all of the heaviness, right? And so it really became clear to me that I really want my focus to be on helping, empowering people to move forward into that post-traumatic growth of it all. And so that's going to be the focus. I'm still going to be doing a lot about narcissistic abuse and the red flags, and I'm going to polish up that series, probably re-record a lot of that series. There's going to be a lot of really awesome, exciting changes in the next 12 months. I'm like just so jazzed about. So, but the focus is really going to be about us, and it's going to be about thriving. So I was making myself nuts trying to find the name. I was going back and forth. I'm like, do I keep the word narcissist in there? Do I take it out? Do I keep the word abuse in there, or do I take that out? Because that's really, you know, heavy and negative too. And then like, I was making myself nuts. And then I was telling my friend today at work, I said, I just was having this like emotional roller coaster today with changing the name. And I was shocked at how just emotional I was with getting rid of the narcissist support name, even though I never felt like super attached to that name. Because I always kind of deep down, I think, knew that it needed to change to something more positive, but it's still been such a huge part of my life for the past year. And I don't know, like it's created this amazing community around that name. And so I don't know, it's been the past like 36 hours have been really intense. So my biggest concern with the name change is going to be that people can still find this material. So I'm going to keep I still have the domain name, the narcissistsupport.com name, but it's going to be, once I work on revamping the site and everything, it's going to be redirected to Thrive After Abuse. So, but that's going to, you know, I work full time too. So like, it's going to have to be kind of this like slow transition over to that. Let's see. Oh, that is so nice. Peace Pom Pom says, Dana, there is such an abundant gratitude for you and your work in this group. Please let us know what extra support you need as your site takes this new path. That is such a beautiful, thank you. Like, that is such a beautiful way to say this. I think really, you know, there's I think what we're going to have to do, because like this is what's stressing me out right now, is that I just don't want to lose anybody in the transition. So, I guess just sharing the name change, um, sharing it with people on Facebook. If you're in any other support groups, just letting them know, just so people don't get lost in the shuffle. So I was really curious to see how tonight's live stream was going to go. If people were still going to be able to find the channel and all that. So we'll see. Martine says, so Dana, how does this protect you from abusive intruders? I don't see it. Well, right now, I've taken down my old name and putting up this new name. So I think it'll stop a lot of maybe it just makes me feel better. I don't know. But my thinking, my rationale is that new people to my channel, my name is not going to be so readily out there. Like, you know. So and we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. Yeah, they can still find me, but they're going to have to work harder for it. So um yeah, okay, wait, I missed something here. So that's enough about me. Let's see, what about you guys? So Practical Dreamer is saying something about the shame of I can't believe I've let another one into my life. Um Hold on, let me scroll up. Cha cha cha. Okay, Practical Dreamer says, I think I am still trying to convince myself that he's not a true narc, but ugh, when you know the signs, you know the signs. Doug says, you're in good company, Practical Dreamer. It happened to Dana too. Yes. And it's happened to me quite a few times. So that was it, and I'm going to talk more about this because I'm going to do a year in review thing for my channel, which my channel's birthday is the 19th of this month. So next week it'll be 1 year. And I'm going to be talking a lot more about that, but actually the whole real, I mean, there were many reasons as to why I started this channel, but kind of what pushed me over the edge is when I had met yet another guy that it's start off the same way. Like, it was just that amazing connection. We were talking all the time. It was just kind of, again, this whirlwind thing. And my nightmares and night terrors and anxiety started up again. And I began thinking, again, the whole thing, like, is it him? Is it me? Do I have issues with trust or with men, or, kind of what's going on? And talking to a therapist friend of mine at work, and was saying, I don't want, I was so afraid, I was so concerned to end that relationship, because these people are often incredibly charming. And it was like, well, I don't want to end a good thing if I have issues. And because I couldn't tell, it's hard, it was hard to tell. Nowadays, like, I got it. So I had started writing down all of the problematic behavior I was seeing. And so, you know, that was really kind of the catalyst for starting my blog. I had a good friend of mine call me up out of the blue. I hadn't talked to her in several years, and old friend of mine, and she had said, you know, it's like I'd fallen off the planet after my relationship with Jack. I was really embarrassed by it, and I just felt like nobody believed me, and I don't know, it was awful. So I lost touch with a lot of people. Well, she had ended up calling me, and I told her what had happened, and she had said, I think that you're amazing for doing this. And she's like, you remind me of Cheryl Strayed, the author of Wild. I don't know if you guys saw the movie. And she's like, you should really do a podcast. And so I didn't know how to do a podcast, so I started this YouTube show. So So long story short, yeah, and even since that guy, I've gone on a few dates with other of them. There's lots of them out there, and um, so don't internalize it. Don't internalize it, because it's not you. There's problematic people out there, and if anything, celebrate it, because I think that's kind of what the universe does, right? Like, it's like, you once you kind of work on learning a lesson, then the universe gives you a slow pitch, and it's like, okay, did you learn the lesson? And if you're able to hit the ball, then you're good. But if you keep striking out, the universe is going to keep giving you that lesson until you get it down. So, um, it just it it takes time, and there's lots of them out there. So, yes. Practical Dreamer says, I'm learning about karmic mates and how they are sent to you to expose a wound that you need to have addressed. And that's so true. It's, you know, those lessons, they, like, once we master that lesson, it like no longer registers on our radar. I was talking to somebody. Who was I talking to? Maybe it was in the support group. We were talking about boundaries, and no, it was on Instagram, and boundaries with people, and how difficult that is at first to just say no and to set that boundary. But then it's so crazy, because the more we practice it, right, the more we get used to comfortable saying no, comfortable being assertive, then, and it's really uncomfortable at first. Like, for me, there was a lot of like inappropriate guilt. There was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of wanting to apologize for not doing anything wrong. There was a lot of uncomfortable, awkward feelings with that. And then the more, and I still struggle with it in some areas, but the better I got at it, the more it became second nature. And then now it's just sort of, like I said, I still struggle in certain areas, but the areas that I've gotten it down in, it's not awkward at all. And if anything, it's weird to me that I ever even struggled with it, because it's so second nature in certain areas. So, um, it's the same thing with dating. Like, once you have an idea of like that clarity of what you're looking for, and um, you know you have that self-love, and you have that self-respect and self-esteem, and all of that, you're not going to get tangled up in it. And if you are, it's going to be not for very long. So celebrate the fact that you're seeing problematic behavior, and you know and I get it. I know it's hard to step back away from it. I mean, I still struggle with it. So Adrian, yes, Adrian is like, he's my public relations agent, my unofficial public relations agent. He had messaged me today on Instagram that he really wanted me to do a live stream, or like a collaborative video with Lisa Romano. And I guess he gave her the channel, but I just changed the channel name. Um, but yes, I will try to connect with her. She's another gal. Another YouTuber and speaker on this. I just she has several books out, and so I had downloaded one the other day, and I really like what she has to say. So um, you know so it would be great to interview her and talk to her about her book. Okay, so that's another thing. Like, there's so many things that I'm just so excited about for the next 12 months. um, so yes, there is the name change with the site, and there's also going to be more of a focus on, wait, hold on, my bangs are doing weird things here. There we go. um, there's going to be more of a focus on me presenting like a wider view of information. So my goal really is going to be to focus on thriving. And I really would like to interview and to talk to people and to talk about success stories and to talk to you guys more and for people to share like their aha moments and I mean anything that we can do to get clarity and then to help others that are struggling with this to get clarity and then passing it along. So I think it's going to be just super 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 exciting. So they're talking about Lisa Romano's accent. I think she's so cute. I didn't realize before I watched her video, I just wouldn't think. I think she's Brooklyn or Long Island or, yeah, some sort of East Coast accent. I I don't know. I just did not expect her to have that East Coast accent. And, yeah, it's, it's cute because she's so, she's hippie woo woo. She's like me. And she's very into law of attraction, very into healing, and, incredibly beautiful woman. And it's funny how, I guess, the kind of that juxtaposition between like the hippie woo woo ness and this East Coast accent is cute. So yeah, I like it. I think it's great. S9 says Lisa Romano is very much Long Island Queens. Yeah. Adrienne says, I enjoyed her Quantum Tools to Heal Your Life book. Yeah, I just started. I don't know which book I downloaded. I'll have to see. But I've been super impressed with it so far. So let's see. We scroll up here. Hot Potato says, I wish there was a round table like the ones they do with movie crews with all of our narc busters like Dana. Yeah, would be that would be fun to have kind of a round table of who all would you guys want to see at the round table? Just out of curiosity. A hangout, Peace Pom Pom says a hangout with Melanie Tanya Evans too one day, representing Australia. Yes, I agree. Practical Dreamer says I really like Melanie's videos. I Hippie Go Lucky says Max. She wants to hang out with Max. I want to hang out with Max too. Yes, I love. Everybody has these great accents. Yeah, Melanie Tanya Evans. She could read the phone book, and I would. That to me is so soothing. I just absolutely love Australian accents. So, and not to, and of course, like her information is super interesting and fantastic. But, yeah, love the accent. Sam Vaknin, Coach Corey Wayne. I've seen him on Instagram, and yeah, that would be. I really like his stuff on Instagram. That would be cool. Spartan Life Coach, Sam Vaknin. So yeah, we'll have to see who all we could get together. I know that they had somewhat of a get together who was it? Richard, Ross, and Sam. And I don't know if it was the three of them or if there was any more, but they had to get together about 6 or 8 months ago in London. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't go to it. I don't know how. I'm sure it was fantastic, but I don't know kind of what all they discussed or if they divide. I'm guessing that they kind of divided things up according to their specialty, but I don't know. But yeah, it would be interesting to do kind of a roundtable discussion on it. Practical Dreamer asks, Dana, what do you think about the theory of ancestral DNA and how emotional psychological wounds are imprinted on us from birth? I don't, I have no idea about that. That is really far out there. So I don't know. You know, I guess anything is possible. I don't know. I mean, I think my take on emotional and psychological wounds has, um, you know, I really do think it just kind of boils down to the whole empty buckets thing. I think if there's psychological imprinting through, I don't think it's done through DNA. I think a lot of it's just nature and nurture, and that stuff's passed down. Um, so overcoming understanding is talking about they're talking about Sam Vaknin, um, that he's very technical and he's very egotistical. Well, yeah, he's a narcissist, so that's what he does. Yeah, I think somebody had asked about John Bradshaw, and his books, and it's so weird. I had never heard the name, or if I had heard it, I don't remember hearing it up until I started like he was coming across my radar big time. Was it last week? Maybe it was last week. Weirdest thing. I don't. I had maybe two or three people mention John Bradshaw, and then my neighbor, like out of the clear blue. Long story short, I end up kind of getting dragged over to her house, and she gives me a John Bradshaw book. It was very very strange. So it was on toxic shame, I think it is, and I haven't read it. I haven't started reading it yet, but I will. Camping Fool 59 says, he's like, I know John Bradshaw from 20 years ago. Yeah, he was a big name 20 years ago. And it's weird to me that I had never heard of him because I gobble up personal, like anything personal growth, I gobble up. So it was very strange to me that I had never heard of him. But his books, the topics look fantastic. So I'm very exciting about it. Center Within says, Dana, Narcissism Survivor is my favorite channel next to yours. Can you have him on? Yeah, I can definitely see. Let me write that. Let me write that down. Hold on. Got my little. I have my little dry erase board. So, okay, narcissism. What was the name again? Narcissism Understanding? Was that it? So, okay. The guy from Understanding Narcissists is great too. Yes, Overcoming Understanding, your channel is great. We should do one. I'm writing this down. Randy Andretti has a channel. She's great. Cecilia, are you still doing yours? Um, you know who would be, and I don't know if he would do a joint video. Would be good 4000. Like I really enjoy those his cartoons and the role playing that he does. So maybe I'll shoot him an email and see. You know, a lot of it is with me is I keep telling myself that I need to get organized because that's my biggest problem is and I've been struggling with this like since day one, and it's making me nuts. My email my inboxes for everything are overflowing, and so I have an autoresponder. I mean, I get back to as many emails and messages as I can, but I it's probably at this point in the game I probably get back to maybe 10% of the people, and it's just a sheer time thing. So my concern would be that I would try to set up these interviews and people would email me, and then I'm not getting their emails because I'm not seeing them. So it's just and it's not even that I need to get organized. It's I need to figure out how to effectively get organized because what I've been doing is not working, and I don't like I really feel like I need a virtual assistant. But then so like 6 months ago when I really realized this is a problem, like I can't keep everything straight. And thinking about okay, I could see about hiring a virtual assistant, but I don't even know like I don't even like know the framework to have them help other than to just say help and hope. I don't know, like I'm kind of feeling a little stuck right now with how to move past this. True Love says, I loved your recent video with Richard Grannon. Gave me insight into what happened with my ex covert narcissist, how he aged and his resources were running out. He got desperate and used someone else and discarded me. Yes. Yeah, they do that. Cecilia says, I volunteer as tribute. Oh, gosh. I don't even know if I would wish this, like, upon anybody. Like, that's the thing. I've had people offer to help, but I'm not even sure like how. I don't even know. Martine says, Dana, I suggested before you need to make one secret email address that you only use for contacts like Spartan Life Coach and such. Yeah, I have um, a contact, like a contact type email only. I don't know. Like I said, I've been in such a scramble with all of this since pretty much day one. Um, I just need to slow down and figure out some sort of system. Okay, Camping Fool says, Dana, please talk about when narcissists get older. The one I met went through the cycle pretty fast. So, a lot of them, the older they get, the more they start to realize that their grandiose ideas of whatever they're wanting to do aren't coming to pass. And so a lot of them do tend to, they tend to, if their behavior tends to get worse. So if they're verbally or emotionally or physically abusive before, then they tend to get worse in part with age. And in part, with age, they also get worse because they have more time to refine their game. So there's several different factors that play there, but yeah, they narcissists always tend to target people for supply. That's what it is. it's not necessarily that they target codependent people. They target people based on their vulnerabilities, and it's more of the ones, those of us out there that maybe, some people are codependent, but a lot of people who just get manipulated by him are the ones that get stuck in their web. Yes, Alf Fighter says a lot of them seem to have the Peter Pan syndrome. I would agree completely, and I think I think it's a lot of it is just that level of immaturity. I mean, emotionally, their emotional maturity is that of, a child, and so I think that kind of contributes to that Peter Pan thing. People, lots of questions and comments are flying in here. Okay, BBR says, Dana, my ex narcissist was older. He lost everything, his children, his granddaughter, and then me, all within a 3-month period of time. Because of his narcissistic, horrible, ridiculous, self destructive ways, I tried to warn him for 6 years that this was going to happen, but of course he wouldn't listen. They inevitably succumb to their own destruction. Yes, those of them, if they don't have any emotional insight, if they don't have any level or any degree of self-awareness, then they tend to self-destruct. But what's even sadder about that is they still, I'm not even sure that they are fully aware that it's them, that they're the problem. True Love says, I also realized my ex covert narcissist was discarding me behind my back to his followers without me ever knowing. Yes. So that happened to me too, twice, where to my face, there wasn't that real obvious devalue stage. It was all done behind my back. And so then, with Jack, it was kind of word on the street. He said, a handful of really snarky, hurtful things after I found out what was going on. But, yeah, like he had told a bunch of nonsense to a bunch of people. And then same with Steve. It was just crazy. Performance says, Dana, are there many empathetic men? I think that there are. I think that there are. Um, it's, I don't think it's a gender thing per se. I think it's more of a, just kind of an awakened self-awareness thing. And that, men have it, women have it, um, but it all starts with like being honest with ourselves and doing that work and being introspective. And it's a hard thing to do. I mean, I struggled. I don't know if you guys saw my video on codependency the other day, but when I got into therapy and all of this after what I went through, I was very well. I felt like I was very open to like trying to figure out where I'd been going wrong. Like, again, like I've been very into personal growth for many, many years, for decades. And so I really had a hard time understanding what, like, how my behavior was contributing to any of it. And honestly, it wasn't until I started this YouTube channel and began seeing the other stories from other people and I had somebody early on that had mentioned to me about codependency, and I got really defensive and had said, like, yeah, that wasn't me. Like that was not the dynamic that I had with Jack and Steve. And it wasn't until, you know, really, really thinking about it and talking to, I have a coworker friend at work, and we're always talking about personal growth stuff. And then like really realizing, even though the relationship I had with Jack and Steve didn't have kind of the hallmark traits of codependency. They still had a lot of codependency within me. I just didn't see it. I didn't see it for like a really long time. And now that I see it, I can't believe I had never seen it before. So I don't know. Very, very interesting. So um let's see. Hold on. Let me scroll up here. Okay, Valinda asks, why do they devalue? What's their payoff? That's a great question. I think a lot of it is it helps them. I think a lot of them believe it, frankly, because they project all of their stuff onto us. And so there is a great term that I heard a while back. It's not really commonly used, but I think it really does a great job of kind of describing how they treat people. And it's the term like a poison bucket. So they just use us like uh, just to vomit their poison onto us. Like, that's our purpose for them, is to be their verbal or emotional or physical punching bag. And so yeah, they just take out all of their self-loathing and all of that garbage onto us. And so that's the purpose of the devalue. And it's I don't think that they have realistic expectations in relationships either, because they have such shallow emotions, right? So they move quick. So it's all about, that whole like whirlwind romance kind of thing. So it's this feeling of, oh, I'm so in love with this person. They're so perfect for me, but they're not seeing us for who we really are. And so when the book, we just finished it in the book club. And if you go to my site, which is still Narcissist Support, if you go to the book club notes and look up for yeah, I think it's controlling people. She talks about it, and it's fantastic. Like her description of it, that basically abusive, controlling people have this. The way that they're wired is this mindset of one mind. So they really feel like that we have one mind with them, that those closest to them should have one mind, and that we should be mind readers, basically. And so they have these expectations of how we should act. And if we act in any way that's different to that, then they freak out. And then that's when they go on the attack. And, but of course, that's a no-win situation for us, because their behavior is completely erratic, because they're living in their mind. It's a delusional reality, but they don't realize it. Like, and I think some of them do. I mean, I think some of them do, but though I think more of like the traditional narcissists don't. They just, and that's why they freak out if you don't agree with them, or if you have any type of different opinion. And in her book too, she talks about how oh shoot, what was I going to say? Oh, that they attack kind of any signs of individuality, because again, that breaks the tie of that one mind concept that they have, which, I mean, again, it makes sense. And I think this is why too they tend to move on so quickly, because it's this idea of, well, you're not this perfect person, you disappointed me, you're not everything, like it's all your fault. So then they move on and they go attached to this new person who of course is not perfect either, but they are just preoccupied with these perfect illusions of love. And of course that's not there. That's why they don't, I don't know, it's crazy. BBR says, Dana, have you ever watched the Battle Hymn of the Empaths videos? I have not. I just feel like I just saw that name, though, for the first time the other day. Better Off Alone says, who is the best person to tell you that you're in an abusive relationship? I would say yourself. Because targets of abuse, um, you know, abusive behavior tends to happen alone, like when a person's alone with that abuser. So either it's through text messages or over the phone or in the car or when they're alone in the house or these kinds of things. So you if you can get in tune with how you're feeling, if you're feeling, you know, if you're feeling nervous, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling that you know, you're hesitant to have certain conversations, if you don't feel safe and secure in the relationship, then there's a problem. And keep in mind that, a relationship doesn't have to be abusive in order for it to not be right for you. So, a person could be a really great person, but if you don't feel safe and secure in that relationship, or if you're not feeling, attracted to the person, then that's not the relationship for you. So, but if you pay attention to your gut feeling, it will tell you if there's a problem, because our gut instinct for sure knows. And that's the thing, like, and that's why it's so hard to get validation, because other people might not be seeing the concerns that you have. I mean, this is exactly what happened with me and Steve. When I had known him for several years, and he was married when I knew him, and he told me this whole story about how he was in separate bedrooms with his wife, and that she was a good person, but they were on the rocks, and he'd been trying to get a divorce, but she was manipulative. This whole story. And I told him, I said, well, I'm not going to get involved with a married man. So if you're really serious about your marriage ending, you need to move out and file papers. And he did. And even though he did that, that's still, I mean, there was a lot of red flags that were kicking up. I was having those night terrors again. I didn't feel good about it. And I kept thinking, like, well, is it me or is it him? And I had friends that were saying, well, that they had dated when they were separated. Now they're happily married. So, and that maybe I just have issues with trust and men. And, I put aside my better judgment, and I went with what those closest to me were saying, because I really wanted them to be right. I really wanted it to be true. I would never do that today. Never, ever, ever. First of all, I would never date a person that was fresh out of a marriage, because a person really needs like a year. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how over their marriage they think they are. Like, you just really need a year to just get on your own feet again, and get everything untangled. And it's painful going through a divorce, and that just takes time. So I would never, ever again do something like that, for sure. But I would never go against my gut feeling again, because even though I was telling them some of the stuff that was going on, they weren't there. I mean, your gut picks up on all of those little things. It's kind of like what Richard and I were talking about in our video with, red flags are felt, they're not seen. And it can be little things. It can be just the way that a person looks at the waitress or at your child, right? Or the way that somebody, smirks at you, or just, how they hold your hand if it's too tight. I mean, you know. I think we can all look back on these different relationships, and at the time it maybe we felt insecure, thinking, why is that bothering us, when it might not have seemed like a huge thing, but you just knew, like, in that moment. Like I said, I have this friend at work, and she'd made the comment she knew with her ex-husband. They were out on a date, and he, this is again, it's like 20 years ago. He had made a kind of a rude, like a rude joke about her sister, and being, I think he said something like her sister was stupid or something, and he was like laughing about it. And she said she knew then that that guy was a jerk, but she thought, well, maybe she just needs to lighten up. She glossed over all of that instead of seeing that, you know, as problematic. So red flag kind of stuff does start off really, really slow, and it's so hard. It's so hard to see things clearly, especially if we're lonely. Because the lonelier we are, if that bucket is running low, then the more, inclined we are to be to hold on to that relationship to make it work. And that's when we start glossing over red flags. That's how people get caught up in like these online dating scams. That's how people get caught up in cults, is they're really starved out in a certain area, and then they meet these people that make them feel like attractive and listened to and appreciated, and they're talking for hours a day, and they don't want to let this go because it feels so good. And so the next thing they know, they're giving their life savings to this person, right? Or they're doing kind of whatever, and it's problematic. So, okay. Okay, great question. S9 says, I'd like to know how to get over the panic. I was wondering, has anyone had triggers pile on top of other triggers? Um, yeah, well, I think it depends on kind of what you're panicking about, and, what kind of what's going on. So there's a lot of that's really, really normal, right? This whole complex post traumatic stress disorder, totally normal. It would almost be abnormal if you didn't have this after an abusive relationship of any kind. So, um, you know, that feeling of hypervigilance, the night terrors, the anxiety, the paranoia, the wanting to isolate, all of that is really, really normal. I don't know if I really honestly, I'm not sure if I've met or heard from anybody in the thousands of people that are in the support group that haven't had that to at least some degree. So, um, yes, BBR says narcs love to say stuff like chill or lighten up. It's part of the gaslighting. It is, and it's part of the manipulation, right? So they'll make some sort of narky comment that would be upsetting to anybody, and then they'll play it off like, oh, you're too sensitive, or it's somehow like our issue, and it's not. Like anybody would be offended by that. And even if nobody else was offended by it, right? If we were to tell somebody, hey, you know what, I am not okay, like I'm not okay with this, and if they still continue doing it, then it shows they don't respect our boundaries. So, um, red flag. Rocky Road said, how do you recover from a narcissist who threatened suicide and then followed through? That's a great question. I think you would mourn it like you would mourn any other loss, and or at least try to. I'm sure that there's probably like a huge mix of emotions there. I think just realizing that when a person commits suicide, that's, you know, it's, there's not a lot that we can really do about that. Like that was their way of dealing with their pain, and to, you know, it's hard. I can imagine. Like I can imagine that would be really hard, especially if there was abuse there. And I would check out some like suicide support groups as well. Yeah, therapy would be good. Journaling, I think, would be good, and just getting it all out. But there's nothing that you could have done to, to have prevented it or to any of it. Like, it's just, that's the thing with suicide is it's such a permanent solution to things, and it doesn't end the pain, it passes it along to somebody else. So, okay, let's see. Let me scroll up. Space Cowgirl says, I am being targeted by an ex who is a narcissist and just realized he is one. I am confused by his motivation. Why me? He is seeing a toxic ex friend of mine. I hate this. How do I get him out of my head? So, if your ex is a narcissist, why you? Supply. He likes the female attention. He likes the, you know, just attention in general. I mean, that's what they do. It's, you know, it's like they kind of go around knocking on doors, and then they see, well, who's going to answer, you know. So yeah. So why is he coming to you for attention? Because he's able to get it. So if he's seeing a toxic ex friend of yours, I would just, just done. Like, go no contact, no explanation. You're gonna probably feel really rude about it, but just you can't argue, you can't reason with, you can't explain. Narcissists love to just argue. They love to just get people in. They love to pull them down into the mud and just argue and spin around. And it's so crazy making. And because they're not logical, but they think that they are. Just drive on. Just drive on. As far as getting them out of your head, staying really busy helps with that. And meeting new people is huge. And just, the other thing too with this is, you know, it's the whole, like, if you're going to heal the wound, you have to quit touching it kind of a thing. So, blocking him on Facebook, on Instagram, setting up his emails to go directly to spam, just blocking him on your phone, like doing whatever you need to do to just cut this person out of your life. And because they do come back, and it's crazy, like, that they can, and oftentimes will come back decades later. So it's really important that we have our emotional shields up just in case that happens. Yes, Marie says, my ex narcissist would always make fun of me after he hurt me and drove me to tears. He'd laugh at me and get me to stop crying. He'd deny me my own emotions. Yes, so that's a lot of what they do. Um, that's that whole, like, sadistic thing in them of, they're bullies. I mean, they're just bullies. So they know that they can evoke this emotion in you, and it makes them feel so smug and superior, and then they just milk it. They milk it for all it's worth. And that's when it's the whole, you're crazy, you're this, you're that. And it's, denying that, like you said, denying the target of this abuse their true feelings. And it's crazy making, and it grinds a person down, and it's exhausting, and it's abusive. So yeah. G3 says, my ex narcissist texted me after not hearing from him for 8 months that he had a heart attack 3 weeks ago and needed to get dye injected to find the blockage. Lie, lie, lie. I didn't contact him. Yeah. It's my thing with that is, if I it's not that I'm a cold, calloused person. It's with the exes, the abusive exes in my life. Like, I am not the person to come to support for. Like, they need to go, just like with you guys, it's having healthy boundaries, you know? And, like, really terribly sorry if something's going on with you, but you need to go find your support system. Like, that's, we don't need to get sucked back in with that. We don't need to reopen contact out of guilt or obligation or pity, because they're relying on that. And Hoover's, their attempt at reopening contact, it's like a little kid. Like, it tends to escalate. So if we don't respond to their nice Hoovers, right? Something that's like, hey, Merry Christmas, or thinking of you, then they tend to progress. It tends to be, oh, I'm really worried about Joe or my mom or something. Or, hey, did I leave my shirt at your house? It's, it's kind of these like seemingly innocent forms of communication to get us to open the door. And you're going to feel like really rude to not respond to that. But this is where going no contact and just blocking everything, and changing your number and just doing whatever you need to do so that they don't contact you again, comes in handy, because then you don't have to worry about staying emotionally strong all the time. It's just because a lot of us good people are like, oh no, yeah, he really did, or she really did leave stuff at the house, and I need to get it back to her, and then we stress out about it, and then but the thing is, like, if they really wanted their stuff, they would have arranged to get it a long time ago. Or we can drop their stuff off at, like, the non-emergency at the police station, and they can go there and pick it up. Like, there's other ways to get closure, and to keep closure, and to keep no contact, other than reopening contact, because this is about you. Like, we don't owe abusive people anything. So yeah, Hot Potato says, I really miss the illusion. The illusion was a great guy. Too bad he wasn't real. Yep. I I hear ya. I hear ya. You know. Yeah, the illusion is great. I miss the illusion too. Kevin is here and says, how do you deal with the codependency and trauma we're left with when we move out? Oh, I just lost the question. Okay, how he's about ready to move out soon. How do you deal with the codependency and trauma? So a lot of that, those are two very big topics and very big questions. The codependency stuff is going to be an ongoing thing. So, it's, like with anything, once you have a awareness of kind of what's going on, then you can work towards changing it. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of videos on YouTube about codependency. I'm starting a series here on it as well. So there's groups called CODA, Codependence Anonymous, groups that are like Alcoholics Anonymous, but for codependency, that are all over the world. They're also online. So those are some great groups to join in that'll really help with boundaries and you know, learning about appropriate guilt and all of these things. So that's tremendous. The you know, shoot, trauma. Lost my train of thought there for a second. The trauma, that's probably going to be the bigger thing, like to address first. Like the codependency is great, but the trauma, getting yourself to where you can function, getting yourself to where you're sleeping and you're eating and you're showering and you're functioning, that's really important. So I think talking in support groups and stuff, talking to other people, seeing what's worked for them, I think realizing too, a lot of this is just really, really normal, and you just kind of have to ride it through as much as you possibly can. And so if it's really intense trauma, which is what a lot of people, myself included, went through, where you're not sleeping, you're not eating, or you know, I remember there were days where I would just cry. I was so tired, and I just could not get any sleep. I'd sleep for what felt like maybe 10 minutes, and then I would have a nightmare, or I was thinking about stuff, and it just it was awful. And then finally, when that phase passed, then I was sleeping all the time, and then I never felt rested. So it was really hard. So if that's what's going on with you, really doubling and tripling up on self-care, possibly seeing a doctor, seeing if, you know, you, if, you know, and I'm not a huge fan of medication, but I definitely think that there's a time and place for it. But seeing about, or at least having that discussion about anti-anxiety medication for a period of time, or antidepressants, or sleep medication. I didn't have insurance at the time, so I couldn't do any of that. And what I did was, to help me sleep, there is this drugstore stuff. I mean, NyQuil, like Benadryl, stuff like that. I mean, taking that at night helped me to get some sleep. There's a medication called ZyQuil. It's from the makers of NyQuil that helps a person sleep. And you can get, Benadryl, because that causes drowsiness, at the dollar store for $1. So, it's one of those things. I think you know yourself well enough to know what you need to do for self-care to get you through this. And with the trauma, for me, I watched a lot of comedies. I really tried to keep my brain busy. I joined meetup.com. Those things. Kevin asked, Dana, do you get dependent on those things? I think it. Well, hold on a second. The comments are coming quickly. So, with medication, generally Benadryl is not habit forming, and you know yourself best, and so it's, if you have any question about any of that, then you can talk to a doctor. But um, the anti-anxiety medications, the stronger medications, like the sleep medications like Ambien, or anti-anxieties like Klonopin, that kind of stuff, yes, those can be habit forming. If you can do something, again, this is a conversation to have with your doctor. I'm just kind of giving you my 2 cents on it, but I would vote to go for the the least, the most mild meds first, and see kind of how you respond to that. So, and sometimes it can be, just cutting out caffeine can do wonders for a person. Switching to decaf coffee if you're a coffee drinker, or if you're a pop drinker, switching to caffeine free, or drinking chamomile tea. There's a lot, having a glass of wine if you're not an alcoholic, right? Or taking a hot bath. And there's lots of like self-care stuff that you can do. That's good. That's good to do. It's a good way to relax. Spending time, if you have some friends, spending time with friends, making it a point every day to shower and to get out of the house, even if it's to get out of the house for like 20 minutes. Like, just getting out of the house, getting some sort of routine in your life can work wonders. Volunteering, meetup.com is fantastic. There's tons of groups out there that you can join. You can meet new people, and you can try new things, and that'll help to really keep you busy. So, yeah, there's self-talk. Yeah, Adrienne says a lot of self-talk and self-pushing. Embracing your feelings 100% and writing them out. Forgiving yourself of what you were not aware of. Yeah. all of that is so huge. Probably, and we're reading this book this month. No, May, next month. I'm reading it now. For the book club is on Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. And if you guys haven't read that book, it's absolutely amazing. I love him. He talk about chill. Like he is super, you know, super chill. Tons of videos on YouTube, and he's all about being in the moment and quieting kind of the whole monkey mind that we all have, and just being here. So I love his work. He's fantastic to just listen to. Buddhism, I think in general, anything that has to do with meditation and being in the now is incredibly helpful with the trauma of it all. Or, and not even just Buddha. I mean, Buddhism I think is fantastic. It's, to me, it's not a religion, it's a philosophy. But if a person's uncomfortable for whatever religious beliefs they might have, if they're not comfortable listening to Buddhist speakers, and there's, again, there's lots of them out there. Chadaron is another one that I absolutely love. But if you're not comfortable with that, if you're Christian and you want to listen to Christian speakers, Joel Osteen is very uplifting. Joyce Meyer is great too. So it's, again, it just kind of goes back to knowing yourself and finding ways to kind of self-soothe, because that's where that trauma and stuff is coming from. And so the more you can self-soothe, the better you're going to feel. Nick is saying, I love Pima Chodron. I know, she's awesome. She actually, if I have my story correct, she's got into Buddhism and became a Buddhist nun after her divorce. I think her husband upped and left her, if I remember correctly, and she had a few little kids, like 2 or 3 little kids, and decided she was so incredibly stressed out, and got into Buddhism. So somebody had asked earlier about the knowledge of problematic behavior being a blessing or a curse. And that was a great question. So for a long time, I really felt like, well, first I felt like I was being really hypervigilant because I was seeing a lot of problematic behavior, and I was getting a lot of what I would call well-intended bad advice from a lot of people, therapists included, who were saying, well, but nobody's perfect, and yes, I would agree with that, but like that doesn't mean that I'm gonna sign up to be abused. So if you're seeing problematic behavior, this goes back to owning your own power and control. Like owning your own power and control. So this way you can tell how you feel around somebody. You know what's deal breaker behavior for you, because everybody's going to have their own deal breaker behavior. So getting a real clear idea of what that is for you. So if you experience it, you can just leave. Like you don't stay in that relationship for years. So yeah, is it kind of a curse to see red flag behavior? It probably will feel like that for a little while, because you're going to see a lot of stuff that other people aren't seeing. But I will tell you, it's red flag behavior always comes with pain. There's either the pain of walking away when you see it, or there's the pain of staying with that person and then actually dealing with it years or decades down the road. So problematic people always bring pain. It's going to be up to us. When would you like to experience that pain? Sooner or later? So the people that are glossing over those red flags and that have gotten into relationships, and that they might tell you, well, but so and so, or my or that, like I was saying earlier, the couple that I knew that were saying, well, we got married, and the female gal, I'll call her Jane, we'll call him John and her Jane, John had said, well, yeah, when I met Jane, she wasn't divorced yet either. She was separated and all this stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, and you guys should not have gotten married. Like, she has credit cards. They have a joint account. She's got credit cards he doesn't know about. I mean, she married him because he was a financial lifeboat for her. And he knows this. He's in big time denial about it. But, you know, like, just because she didn't turn out to be a narcissist or like a full blown sociopath doesn't mean that that relationship's healthy. Like, there's a lot of dysfunction there. And for me, that kind of stuff is deal breaker behavior. Like, let's see. Tanya asks, I tagged you in a post today to get your opinion on a flag I saw. What did you tag me on Facebook or Instagram? I haven't been on Facebook a whole lot today, so I'll have to check it out. But here's the thing, though. Actually, like, I think we can just answer this right now, because this goes back to you trusting you, right? And I guess, man, boy, if that's one, like, the most important concept that I could get across would be that. Because here's the deal. Like, I love being a sounding board. It's fun, it's interesting, it's entertaining, it's validating. I get it. I totally get that. But deep down, you know best. Like, you guys, you have all of the answers within you. Like, you really, really do. And it's so important because, there's lots of people out there, myself included, that could potentially be giving you very well-intended bad advice. I would hate to say, oh, if you feel like that's off, like that there's something funny about that. And then if I say, you know what, I think that you are being hypervigilant, there's nothing wrong with that. I can't, I don't know, because I didn't see the situation. If something feels off to you, odds are it's because something's off. And it's hard for us to fully embrace that. And that it comes with practice. Because here's the thing, like, if we're right, we'll never know for sure. Right? Because if you have a feeling that something's off about another person, you're going to distance yourself from them. You're probably going to go no contact, and you're never going to have that satisfaction of knowing if they were really problematic. Like, the only way to tell if a person's problematic is to ride that train until it crashes. And so that's a really hard way to learn things. So, just going with your gut and being okay with walking away. And then asking yourself too, do you feel like this around other people? So, for example, again, I have a friend of mine who was asking, she was dating this guy, and she's like, I swear he flirts with waitresses when we go out for dinner. And she's like, I don't know if it's me, if I'm being too sensitive, or if he's really flirting with the waitress. And so I was like, well, okay, is his behavior, because she has a brother, I said, well, is this something that your brother would do? Like, if you were out to dinner with your brother, would he talk to the waitress like that? She's like, oh my God, no way. Okay, how about your son? No, not at all. Okay, how about, think about the best relationship you've been in. Did that guy do that? No. Okay, so it's not that she was making a big deal out of the situation, right? Like, she knows how she feels, and she knows when something's off, and she just didn't want to see it. Like, she didn't want to admit that there was something really off there. And that's what we all do. We all think about, things where it's like, well, but maybe I am, right? Like, we all want to believe that it's our fault, because that's the cognitive dissonance, right? Because if we believe that it's them, then we know we can't stay. So it's easier to think that it's us and that we just, it's kind of the whole saying of, well, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Like, that's cognitive dissonance at work. Yeah, Cece says, I ran into a friend who has friended my narc in his new supply. She gave me a pretty hard time about it just because I don't like them. I still haven't blocked her on Facebook. It hurts. Well, it sounds like she's really not that good of a friend if she's not in your corner. So, you know, Cece says, I'm losing everything. I get it. I get it because I was there too. And here here was kind of my realization with that is in my life, I realized I had to lose everything because there was nothing really there to begin with anyhow. It's sort of like having your fridge full of rotten food. It's that false sense of abundance. Like, oh, I have so many options. I have so much stuff there. And it's like, no, you really don't. Like, you've got a fridge full of rotten food. And we're starving because there's nothing to eat, even though we're continuing to lie to ourselves and say that there is. I had to do a huge house cleaning with friends as well because I had a lot of quote unquote friends like that you had, and I went through the same thing. I had nothing. Just lost everything. But you know what though, Cece? It's okay. It's okay. You can get back. You can rebuild. Like that's the benefit of having your life blown apart. It's odds are it sounds like it's something that just needed to happen. Even though it's incredibly painful, it's not fair, it's not right, and it's like it's hard. It's so hard, but you're not alone in this. Like you're really not. And it's like, okay, you know what? Here I am. Like here I am. Like this, I'm standing in the rubble of my life. And when you're at that point, the beauty of that is that you can start deciding which pieces you're going to pick up and rebuild with. And I don't know if you're in the support group or not, but if you go to my website, there's links. There's a support group there, and then there's this my support group on Facebook too. If you can, I mean, you can always join both, but the website one, actually, if you look in the description for this video, it'll have it. But my website right now is called. Actually, it'll redirect you. thriveafterabuse.com, and then go to support group. So, oh, okay, you are. She said I'm in the Facebook group. Okay, great. Reaching out to other people, and you can get through it. You can get through it. Just take it a day at a time, just a moment at a time, a breath at a time. And, this is going to be your story. And I would encourage you to look at it like that. Like, think of this as this is your story of triumph over this. And what kind of story do you want to tell in 10 or 20 years from now? So when people are talking about you and they're talking about all of the stuff that you went through, what's the story that you want to tell? So, for example, my grandmother went through narcissistic abuse with my grandfather. And my mom she wrote a book about it. It was never published. It was called I have the original manuscript around here. I think it was called From Divorce to Despair to Delight or something like that. And her story is it's so intense and it's so heavy because he was a minister and she just was very naive and just a wonderful woman and just did not see it coming at all. And, he was just horrid. He was horrid. And so her story gave me hope. And I think that was the big aha for me. Like, well, what would I want other people? Like, what do I want my story to be? Like, how do I want to write this? And then kind of emotionally distancing yourself from kind of what's going on and realizing this is a chapter in the book of your life, you know? And try to make this a really great story and make it a story all about triumph. But and it's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to just feel the way that you feel. You know, you're human and you're probably a very good human. You know, and that's probably why in part you were targeted. So but you're so not alone. So yes, M. Fisher is saying, what I have found out is that you can't take things too fast, just one step at a time. That's so true. It's true with everything. It's true with getting into these relationships, and it's true with healing from these relationships, right? Cece says, thanks, Dana. Much love to you. I have been crying for 2 days. Yeah. Yeah. I and that's again and that's normal, right? Like it's normal that you're crying. It's normal that you're sad. It's normal that you're having this wide range of emotions. Like all of this is so all of this pain is normal, and it's normal because you're a caring, good human being who's going through a lot of stuff right now. And again, this goes back to knowing yourself and knowing what kind of what do you need? What do you need in order to get through this as best as possible? You know? And then trying to reverse engineer it as much as you can. So, yeah, it's just going slow. Cecilia says, I need some self care ramen this week. Well, you are pretty easy to please, gal, if you just need some self care ramen. So that is easily done. So go for it. Martine says, yes, noodles for the soul. I like that. That's cute. Toto says, it's good that you're crying. Tears are so healing, and being able to cry will help loads. Yes. I love that. Yep, tears just really wash away so much. Hot Potato says, no empathy for narcs with this codependent anymore. Yeah, I hear ya. I mean, my whole thing is like, I wish everybody like light and love. I was thinking about that today. I went for a walk after work because it was so nice out, and I walked down. I live on a little lake out here, and went for a walk down by the lake, and was just sitting there, just thinking about just everything, and thinking about pain. I guess was what I was probably thinking the most about, and because I'd gotten a comment on my channel from a guy. This is okay, like now that I'm thinking about it, this is how it all happened. He had commented on my codependency video about saying that he's a psychopath and he just doesn't care, and he'd asked a bunch of questions, or he'd made a bunch of comments and stuff, and in my knee-jerk reaction to that is, well, first of all, it was to delete the comment, but I didn't. I haven't yet. Maybe I will. I haven't yet. But, then the second knee-jerk reaction is to just be mean, right? Like, because it makes my defenses go up. And then kind of they said my blue light's gone. Yeah, there it is. I turned it. then, so I was thinking, okay, so I was thinking I was angry. I was going to delete it. Then I was angry and I was going to say something snarky back. But then I thought, what if, like, I don't want to do that. Like, my whole goal with like this channel and with everything that I do is I really want it to just be thriving. I just want to spread like love, like love and healing to everybody. And so then I was just thinking about the whole concept of like emotional alchemy. When people are ugly and hateful and hurtful to us, to just, like, you don't get that. Like, you don't get that. I'm not going to give this other hateful, angry person the satisfaction of dragging me down into the mud and making me hateful and angry. And it's not easy, but just to be like, you know what? Like, I'm going to wish everybody light and love, but the dangerous people, the destructive people, the manipulative people, that light and love, I have to do that from a place where I'm treating myself with dignity and respect and compassion. And so it's going to be from like behind a closed door that I nail shut, right? So, um, yeah, like I don't like getting upset. I don't like feeling that full of rage. And I think that's part of it. Like when you're healing, that's that rage, like that intense level of rage is very, very normal. But I'm years out from my situation, so I don't have rage anymore. Um, it's more of a, I don't feel anything anymore about those two guys. So, if somebody were to be, narky now, it's like I own my emotions. Nobody can make me feel a certain way, and they're not going to have that power and control over it. So, yes, Hot Potato. Cece is saying, "What do we do with our feelings?" Hot Potato says, "Cece, your response is perfectly human." I agree. And Cece, you ask, "What do we do with our feelings?" We feel them. We feel them, and it's so there's this practice in Buddhism. I'm gonna move my blue light. There we go. And it's all about like detaching, like just kind of detaching from your emotions, realizing that we are not our thoughts and we are not our emotions. We are that stillness that's behind that. And so, like Eckhart Tolle talks about this in The Power of Now, that so he had this breakthrough moment when he was feeling very suicidal, where he realized that he could no longer live with himself. And then it was the realization, well, wait a minute, like, are there two of me? Who is the, you know, like, how come there is this I that cannot live with myself? Like, how are there these two selves? And realizing that there's two of them. And then he realized, who we truly are is the one that is observing those thoughts. So once we realize that our thinking mind is not who we are, like we're the stillness behind that, we're the ones that observe our thoughts. And so watching your emotions and your thoughts, if you can visual, I think it's very helpful, at least for me, to visualize a happy place. Like visualize yourself at the beach or laying on a grassy hill and there's clouds going overhead. And those clouds are like your thoughts and your emotions. And so you're distancing yourself from them. And so you're watching them as they pass over. And so one cloud, and then, like a cloud normally does, like it'll go over and then it'll dissipate, right? So you're watching the cloud go overhead and it's this feeling of, maybe it's fear, right? Like if I don't know what I'm gonna do next, and you're watching that, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, that's real. That's just you're just observing it. You're not getting tangled up in it. You're not passing judgment on it. You're not thinking I should be feeling any other way other than I'm feeling. You're just seeing that for what it is, and then you kind of watch it dissipate, and then it goes away, right? And then another one tends to come along, and maybe that one is anger. or resentment. Like, this shouldn't be happening to me. And then you just kind of sit there and you watch it, and you feel it, and you feel how you feel. And then that dissipates, and then the next one goes. There's a huge amount of freedom with just feeling the way that you feel and then letting it go. So Cece says, I do not sleep at night. Medication does not work. Well, you are in the middle of a lot of stuff, and unfortunately, I think a lot of that's really normal. So this happened to me too. She says, I'm in a new state. I'm alone in a new state. When I went through my stuff with Steve, that is exactly what happened to me. We had just moved to Michigan, didn't know anybody out here. We had just met our next door neighbors. We were out here for a couple of weeks, and then he upped and left and just stuck me with rent on a new place. I had no job. I knew nobody. It was awful. I was so stressed out. I had 2 rental properties at the time, and my tenants moved out of it. Was okay. So he left. I had no job. And then I remember praying and being like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just need a sign. And then shortly after that, I got notice that my tenants in one house were moving out. And then it was like, okay. And then I was using up taking out cash advances off my credit card to pay the mortgage on that. And mind you, I didn't have a job. And I kept thinking, like, it's got to get, like, something's got to give, like, it's got to get better. It's got to get better. And then my other tenant upped and moved out. And then the answer became crystal clear. Like, I can't hang on financially anymore. Like, I can't. Like, I am done. I've done all I can do. And it was so incredibly stressful. And just the beauty in this was just letting go. It was letting go. It was kind of that realization of feeling like I'd been hanging onto this rope for so long. I'd had these rental properties I'd stayed in New Mexico for 3 years trying to sell them. The market had turned. They weren't selling. I hated my life. I hated New Mexico. I hated these houses. Like, I was profoundly unhappy, like, every single day. And I was trying to do the right thing. I was divorced, and buying these houses was my idea, and I felt obligated to stay and get them sold. Well, they weren't selling, and then finally I thought, I can't put my life on hold, so I'm moving. And everything just came crashing down. And I remember my mom ended up flying out here. She stayed with me for a few weeks, which was helpful to have somebody here, but my mom and I kind of have a tense relationship, so it wasn't like, it was nice to have a familiar face for sure. I ended up joining meetup.com, and I went to a meetup. It was like a board game meetup, and I met this woman there. Her name was Connie. She was in her 70s, maybe 70s or 80s, and this poor woman. So we're here to play a board game, and I just, like, dumped all of this stuff on her and began crying. And she's like, "Oh, honey, let's go." And so we went across the street, and she bought me some coffee, and we had coffee and talked until the place closed down. And she told me all of just because I had also loaned, I bought Steve a truck right before he took off, and I, like, really didn't have that much money left. And then Steve owed me like 10 grand, and I felt so stupid and used, and here I am yet again. And now I've got, I have to give up on these 2 houses. I've got to talk to my ex-husband about this. And I felt like such a failure on, like, every single level. And it was awful. And so this woman is sitting here telling me, all about all of the things that she had done in her life. All of the, she's like, oh, honey, let me tell you. And she was telling me, she's like, oh, you think that's nothing. And she's like, my ex-husband, she's like, he took me for, I don't even know, like a lot of money, like $70,000. And she had done all this other stuff. And she's like, you're not alone in this, and other people do stuff too. And that was what I needed to hear. I just needed to hear, like, yeah, okay. I not because I think when we go through stuff like this, we tend to think that it's just us, and that's, I think, the benefit of support groups, right? Of realizing that, yeah, it's, you're not alone. You're not alone. Cece was saying hers took her for over $30,000. The way that I would look at this is that with people like this, if you can't get the money back, it's tuition that we pay at the School of Hard Knocks. And honestly, it's some of the best money that you'll ever spend. If you can learn these lessons, it's some of the best money that you'll ever spend, because you wouldn't have learned these lessons any other way. So, it is what it is. It's, let's see. She says, I had nowhere to stay. My home developed a water leak when I was staying with him. My house is unlivable. Where is your house now? Is your house in the state that you're living in, or is the house somewhere else? If your house is where you are now, you could consider at least calling your homeowner's insurance. So, oh, it's somewhere else. Okay. So, yeah, this is a fresh start. I know it feels like a really harsh ending, and in many ways it really, really is. But you, my dear, you are right on that brink of a fresh, brand new slate. Like, new slate, new life, new chapter across the board. So I hope, and I know that that's not easy to see, but I would encourage you to look at it that way, because it is what it is. You can recover, you can rebuild, and your life can be even better this time around. So try to have faith in this new chapter and moving into this new chapter, and just vent. People are, and that's the thing, again, like the beauty of the support groups, people that are there pretty much 24/7. So, talk to people there, reach out, and you're not alone in this. You're not alone in this. So, somebody had asked about loneliness after this. Again, I'm a huge fan of meetup.com. I think it's a great way to get out there and do things that you really enjoy, like reconnect, rediscover who you are, and to find things that you really enjoy. So there's meetup groups. If you guys are not familiar with the website, it's free. A lot of the groups do free or very low cost things. So joining group, I would encourage you guys, join like 20 groups, no joke. Like, join 20 groups, because you don't have to go to any of the meetups. Like, but this way, you're gonna come across ones that are interest you. If you join, the more groups you join, the more things you're gonna come across that might potentially interest you. So join group. There's so many out there. There's outdoor groups, there's dog groups, there's board games, there's food groups, there's camping groups, there's you name it. So finding groups that appeal to you, and you know, you can start organizing your own. It's I don't even remember how much it is, maybe like $30 a year or something to start your own meetup group. So, that's a thought. And it's a great way to meet other people without the pressure of dating, because I think a lot of people, I have done it too, where it's like we're lonely, and so we think, you know what, I'm really lonely, so therefore the answer must be to start dating. And that's really like the last time, like not when you want to start dating, is when you're lonely, because then you're going to be trying to find somebody based out of need, and you're not going to be discriminating. And we need to be discriminating when we're dating, right? Because that's a really important role in our life. So it's really important that we're focused on being choosy and not on being chosen. So, and Cece says, I don't think I'll ever date again. And perhaps it doesn't have to, you don't have to make that decision right now. You are in the middle, you are at just such a crossroads right now. And it's like somebody had mentioned earlier, just taking it a day at a time, getting your basic needs met. Just focus on being extra good to yourself, because I will tell you the one thing in this life that I know for certain, outside of always going with your gut. Like, that's number one. Number two would be that I promise you, you will not look back at this point in your life and think to yourself, boy, I really wish I would have worried about all of that more. Never. Never, not once. You will not tell yourself that 6 months or a year from now. So if that's the case, if you're going to tell yourself that I really wish I would have, I really wish I would have worried about that more. You're not going to say that. Then there's kind of not a lot of point in worrying at all, right? All you can do is all you can do. And to just worrying, it feels so productive. It really, really does, but it's not. It's not. Either you have control over certain things and you take action on it, or you don't. And if you don't have control over something, then there's no point in worrying about it. So, easier said than done, but just, you're not going to worry about this. You're not going to wish you would have worried about it. Yes, Unicorn Girl says, Cece, treat yourself with love and care that you would treat yourself with the love and care that you would treat a close friend or a loved one. Be that person to yourself. Yes, yes, for sure. Pink Pixie says, any other ideas to fulfill the lack of human while going through the breakup? I have cancer and I'm open to ideas. Can these issues cause illness? I fully believe that these issues can cause illness, for sure. So, and I'm incredibly overwhelmed and saddened that you have cancer on top of all of this. That's quite the stuff that you've got going on your plate. So, online stuff, there's a lot of online support groups out there that are a great way to help with the loneliness. I mean, thank goodness for Facebook, right? That's huge. Volunteering can be really good. Joining, meetup.com can be great. Joining different groups in your area, those kinds of things are fantastic. Yes, I love that. Hot Potato says, maybe the lack of human contact can be compensated with animal company. Yes, very much so. Very, very much so. So, again, like turning inward and thinking to yourself, and maybe doing some journaling, like some free writing would help with this. So, like writing down the question, what would help me right now to best get through this? And then just seeing like what answers flow out of you. It might be, I how can I best take care of myself during all of this right now? Maybe it's taking a hot bath once a week, or a bubble bath, or painting your toenails, or watching a comedy every single night, or making an effort. Here was a big thing for me, and this is still a big thing in my life, and it's simple and it's fast and it's free, is taking time for gratitude. Like, that is the most grounding thing that I think we can do, is just, especially if you're caught up in this storm that feels like your life, because I have been there too, where just slowing things down and being grateful for what you do have, like, just thank you, whatever your belief in a higher power is, or even if you don't have one. But for me, it was the feeling of, just thank you, God, thank you. Thank you, God, thank you. That I'm here, And, at the time I had a dog, like, thank you, God, thank you for my dog. And, and here's the thing too, the dog that I had at the time was a rescue dog. I think my dog was a narcissist. Like, he was a horrible, rotten little dog, and he was so stinking cute, and that was what he had in his corner. But that dog had major issues. He was really difficult, and oh, but he was so cute. But he would go potty inside. He would, he was just a pain. And for me, like, I think in many ways that really kept me from falling way down, was how Potato was saying, LOL, I had a dog like that. Like, he was a selfish little, self-absorbed, just rotten, darling little dog. And I promised him that I would take care of him, and I did. But I had that dog for like 10 years, and it was a long 10 years, but because he was very difficult, and he was ornery, and yeah. So anyways, but like I said, but when he was good, when the good times were so good, like he was part corgi, and he had that corgi smile, and he had the big ears, and he was so cute. But yeah, he was a corgi mix. He was dark. I fell in love with him. Like, that's the pattern I have, I guess, apparently. Like, I fell in love with him because he was so cute, and I had never seen a dog with like ears like that before. He was just darling. But yeah, he had just all kinds of issues, and it's the same. Like, I just kind of, my love can change him, and it didn't work at all. And that dog had me wrapped around his finger, and like I said, it was a long 10 years. So, but there were lots of good things about him too. I don't mean to sound harsh, because he was cute, and he loved to play ball, and there was lots of, he was cute. But BBR says, I had a mini dachshund named Baxter that was a terrorist. Yes, that's what we used to joke. My dog's name was Simon. We used to joke that Simon would we called it acts of carpet terrorism. Because he was a carpet terrorist. He would pee on carpet, and it was this ongoing joke. He could be outside all day long, and then would scratch at the door, and we would joke, and he would say, let me in, I have to go to the bathroom. Because like, he just, it was crazy. But the upside to that in my life was, I knew that if I didn't take care of this dog, that nobody else would. Like, that anybody else would have put him down, or put him back in a shelter, or done something. So Like, I felt like I had to keep some semblance of my life together in order to take care of this dog. So it's funny how life works out like that, you know, because really here I am thinking I'm rescuing Simon, but in the end, he ended up really rescuing me because that really kept me going. It really kept me going. Um, but yes, the whole just being grounded in the moment and, you know, just focusing there because there's so much right that's going on in your life right now. And I know it can be so hard to see, but it really does. It will help to self-soothe you and to focus and be grounded if you can start being just anything and everything. Thank you for, you know, a hot shower. Thank you for clean water. Thank you that I have taste buds to taste this clean water. Thank you that in just anything and everything, and just go on rampages. Abraham Hicks calls them, you know, rampages of appreciation, and I love that. Just rampages of appreciation of everything that's going right. Because the more we can start training our brain to focus on what's going right, the more we're going to steer in that direction. That's another person who is fantastic to listen to. Well, can be, depends what kind of where you are in your healing. But Abraham Hicks is, and talk about hippie woo woo. Like that's about as far hippie woo woo as you can go. But she's got a lot of really interesting stuff to listen to. Just saying. Pink Pixie says, I don't want a new boyfriend. I want someone to hug me and hold me as the pain is really hard. I'm scared that I'm thinking about just giving up. So, yeah, you know, I'm sorry that you're feeling that low. I think a lot of us have been there, but I would, there's a couple of things I want to say about this. First off, you know, I would encourage you to take the option of suicide off the table. Like, don't even entertain that as a possibility. You know, for me, when I was going through all this, I was such, and I think a lot of us go through this, it was such this wide range, this wide mix of emotions. I mean, there was a part of me that I was suicidal. There was a part of me that I wanted to kill. Like, I wanted to kill Steve or Jack. I was full of rage. You know, I was sad, I was happy, I was scared, I was fearful. There was this whole wide mix of emotions, and I found it helpful to just take suicide and murder off the table. Like, just don't even let your mind go that full range of emotion. It's just too much. It's just too much. And so if you're feeling suicidal thoughts, if you're feeling like you really want to end it, I encourage you, call 911, call for help. There's, you know, get yourself someplace safe. There's also suicide hotlines out there that, you know, are, if you Google National Suicide Hotline, you can get the 800 number. I think there's people there 24 hours a day to talk to. The support groups online are fantastic as well, to talk to other people, because you're not alone. And this too shall pass. Like, it really will. It really will pass. So, and you have, you know, you have a ton of stuff on your plate. And yeah, that makes total sense as to why, you know, we would just need somebody, you know, to give, like, oh man, I remember being there. Like, you just need a hug. And it's just that feeling of you're going to be okay. You know? So, yeah, reach out if you haven't joined our support group. You know, please consider doing so. Contact info is in the description area of the video. So, Adrian is saying Abraham Hicks is a demon, but he is wise. Yeah, it's very strange. Like, Abraham Hicks is a very strange thing. For those of you that don't know about Abraham Hicks, like I said, it's like no joke. Like it's some of the most wild stuff you'll see. But she's been doing Abraham is Esther is her name. She has been doing this, quote unquote this, for like 30 years, 40 years now. Maybe 40, maybe even 50. She's been doing it for a while. Like I think since like the 70s. So but she supposedly channels like I know that sounds nuts, but she supposedly channels these beings from I don't really know where. They're like outer space somewhere. Like I told you, it was pretty wild. And that these other entities refer to themselves as Abraham, and people and her stuff is all about law of attraction. The movie The Secret was really based on Abraham. So again, really out there stuff. The first 4 or 5 videos that I watched, I didn't care for at all. But then, like one day, it clicked, and I just really, I don't know. It was very very entertaining. A lot of her information and advice is just spot on. So, it's interesting. Yeah, I would agree. Dave, hi Dave, by the way. Dave says, when I separate the message from Abraham's delivery, it works better for me. I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, I feel like I kind of do the same way. It's just, I guess it's like anything else. You hold on to what helps and then you let the rest go. And that's kind of all any of us can do. Yeah, Cece, yeah, you guys, suicide, and I get, like I said, I get it. I get it. But it's, just take that option off of the table. It doesn't stop the pain. Suicide doesn't stop the pain. It just gives it to somebody else. And to just realize yes, you feel intensely broken right now. And that's incredibly normal. And there would be something wrong with you if you didn't feel this way. And both Cece and Pink Pixie, you guys have a ton of stuff going on in your life, like very valid, very heavy, very intense things. And, to just hang in there as best as you can, to self soothe as best as you can, to reach out for help because you have a lot to bring to this planet and to this life experience. And, you are important and you do matter, and this too shall pass. And many of your best days are still ahead of you. They are. Like, they really, really are. So don't cheat yourself out of that. Yeah, the best revenge is a good life. It really, really is. So, yeah, hot potato, thank you for saying that. She says, Pink Pixie, just talk about it openly. There are a lot of people who feel like you are feeling. Very much so. And that's the thing, it's like we all feel like we're so alone in this, right? That it's that we have the patent on pain, and we don't. And that's one of the reasons I started talking about all of this stuff on my channel. Once, like, so I was telling you kind of my story, right? Like, I ended up losing pretty much everything. Like, I lost a bunch of stuff with my life too. And like, getting into that first support group, because I didn't know. I hadn't, no therapist. I had no clarity. I did not know what was going on with me. I felt stupid. I felt paranoid. I felt totally alone in this. I didn't even know what I had experienced. I thought maybe really I am being too sensitive. Like, is this a bad breakup? Why can't I move forward? What's wrong with me? Why does this keep happening to me? I didn't know what was going on. I felt like I used to refer to that time back then in my life as I felt like I was lost in a paper bag that was my life. Like I could not find my way out. And it wasn't until I got into that first support group and it was really wild because I'm like, "Oh my god, we're all telling different versions of the same story." It was like that first wave of clarity and and then it just that clarity just kept coming. And then realizing, oh no, this is a thing that happens to like lots of people, like lots and lots of people. And just kind of that feeling, that need of, I've got to tell other people about this. Like, this is nuts. Like, this is nuts that we're all going around out there thinking that we're alone in this, because we're not alone at all in any of it. Like, in any of it, right? I mean, any of it. But we all think that we are, right? We think that it's so easy to think, and understandable to think, that everybody else has things so figured out. You know, like, well, I think, oh, they're so lucky, or they have this great relationship, or they have they have something, you know, their life is so much better. And the reality is their life is just different. Yes, I love it. Hot potato, totally. She says, pink pixie, one thing at a time, slowly deal with the cancer first and everything else second, triage style. Yep. Your number one priority right now is your health, and just focusing on all of the health and healing possible for you. This is your time. And then, you know, as you heal, as you recover, as you start moving forward, then, you know, then you can start dealing with these other things that are coming up. You're welcome. Sad Sky says, thank you so much, Dana, to speak about men suffering from abuse and not just women. I'm sorry for my English. Your English is fine, for starters. Probably better than a lot of native English speakers, just for the record. But yeah, you're welcome. I think I didn't realize that I didn't realize what all men went through until I started my channel. And then I was just absolutely blown away. Like, yeah, it's really wild, the stuff that men go through, and that it's not taken seriously, and that it's not openly discussed. And there's a lot of re-education that needs to be done with it, because it's sexist, right? It's sexist to not talk about what men go through. So, and you are, you know, there's a lot of men out there that are going through this. So it's, you know, you're not alone. And I don't know if you're in either one of my support groups, but both of the support groups have men in them. I remember, I don't know if Martain remembers this or not, or if he's even still on, but when I started the Facebook group, no, it would have been, maybe it was Martain, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. The support group originally, you know, a lot of women tend to identify about this sooner. Like, they tend to realize that there's a problem. We started this support group, and it was all women at first, and then it might have been Martain was the first guy, I think, in the support group. And if I remember correctly, and Martain, correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory is fuzzy about this, that women were having a ton of issues about that. And I get it, because I probably would have too back then, thinking like that men were the problem. They weren't feeling safe because they had been abused by men. And then we had this like huge like rift in the support group, whether or not it was going to be women only, or who all were we going to let in, and you know, having this whole issue. And then it was sort of the moment of, no, our group is going to be about people healing from abuse, period. So, regardless of gender or sexual orientation or religious preference or any of it, like, it's people helping people. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Martina's saying, yeah, there were fights back then with getting it all ironed out. It's just a huge learning curve. Like, there's been a huge learning curve to all of this. So, Jeff says, my ex and her mom got me out of a lot of money. Now she's asked me over and over again. Oh, wait. I just lost it. She's wants to know over and over where I am after ghosting me. Why does my ex want to know so badly? It's called a Hoover, and it's how they reopen communication with somebody. So if you have no desire to reopen communication with her, I would block her and ignore her to the best of your ability. And it's crazy making, and it's something that we all do, so don't feel bad about it. But it's crazy making when we start trying to figure out what an irrational person is doing. So you'll never know. Like, you'll really never know for sure, like, why. Why is she trying to reopen contact? Why you? Why now? Like, I think it's safe to say she probably wants something, but as far as like specifics, I mean, who knows? So I wouldn't waste a whole lot of time and energy trying to figure it out. I would just realize that it's not healthy for you. It's not what you need or want in your life. And then just, cut ties and drive on. Hot Potato says, I almost hoovered my narcissist, but this was mostly just me missing him. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I think a lot of us, you know, do that. Like, especially if they do the whole ghosting thing and they just, or the stonewalling or kind of whatever you want to call it, where they just vanish. Um, so, it's, yeah. Yeah, Martine, I see your message. Let's connect later this week. How about that? Doug says, you need to put that in your book, Dana, about how your group decided it was about healing and what the discussions were about. It would help other groups, I think. That's a great point. I like that. Yeah, there's so much. Like, so I was writing a blog post today that I'm going to turn into a video for the 1 year anniversary of this channel, which is April 19th. April 19th is the 1 year anniversary. And so it was like a year in review. And I was trying to capture all of everything that has happened in the past 12 months. And it's been absolutely wild. So I'll have to, let me make a note of that. Because that is significant. Like, just the whole shift from, to making, I mean, like, that sounds so ridiculous, right? But to making it inclusive. In men in support group. Jeff says, should I stay in no contact? Jeff, I think you're the best judge of your situation. Um, my 2 cents would be that a person, you know, only break no contact if, like, kind of life or limb are at stake. Outside of that, just because she wants to know where you are, or, uh, you know, who cares? Like, who cares what she wants? And that's what they do. I mean, they'll tell you all kinds of stuff to get you to open the door. So I would encourage you, if there's no benefit to you, like if there's no valid reason for you to put yourself back in harm's way, I definitely wouldn't do it. So Alice, no longer in Wonderland, says good night and stay positive, and she'll be back. I love that name. Yes. Nick says, Jeff, keep in mind all the abuse you received before you opened that door. Yes. So that's another thing that I encourage people to do. It's something that really worked for me, that I think works for a lot of people, because it helps to cut through this cognitive dissonance. And that this cognitive dissonance is like a fog. It's like pretty much an emotional fog, and it settles in, and it's where it's people. It goes by all different kinds of names. Nostalgia is probably one of the more common names that it's called, but it's really kind of how and why we go about justifying our actions. And so it's very dangerous when we open up contact again with an abusive person, because they oftentimes slip back into that role of being incredibly charming, and then our brain, that fog, we enter that fog. It's just like driving into a thick fog, right? Like it's easy to get confused. It's hard to see things clearly, and it's easy to get in an accident, right? So to prevent yourself from getting too deep in that, what I recommend people do is to make a list. So for your situation, called For When You Miss Her. And on that list, write down in bullet points. Okay, so like you can easily skim it, of all of the horrid things she did, all of the reasons that you need to stay gone, all of the reasons that you left. Okay, so bullet points. So it could be, this, she lied about, kind of whatever will help kind of snap you awake, that'll help clear that fog. So it might be, she lied about having a dog. She lied about being single. She called you, this certain name, or this whatever. And so then you keep that list in a drawer. And Jeff says, well, she left me for a man 20 years older than her, but then she started asking me for help. Okay, put that on the list, right? So those things, anything that'll cause an intense emotional reaction that makes you see her clearly. When you start to miss her, you pull that letter out and you read it to yourself, and it'll help to not get caught up in that nostalgia of thinking of all the good times. And it's because it's amazing the stuff that we can gloss over when we get into that fog of nostalgia. Because you don't need to be used again. You don't need to be up and left again, right? Like, that's all incredibly hurtful behavior. And that shows a person's character. I mean, that's not like, that's not like a my bad kind of a thing. That's a pattern there, right? Like, it's a pattern of lack of regard for other people, which is problematic. Hot Potato says, I think mine lied about everything. Oh yeah, I hear ya. I think both of mine did too. Cece says, I do not think I could take this again. Yeah, it's a lot, and I highly recommend that. You mentioned before that you don't think you would date again. Definitely do not date until you feel emotionally stable enough to date. And I think a lot of people start feeling really broken and scared and alone and insecure, and so they try to self-soothe by dating somebody, and that's what I did, and then you crash into another manipulative person. So it's just critically important that we are able to spot signs of problematic behavior in other people and then signs of problematic behavior within ourselves, as far as like any codependency, or not even like codependency, but justification. Because a lot of codependency is really, like, codependency is what cognitive dissonance looks like in motion. It's all of the same stuff. It's that clingy behavior. It's that feeling of love addiction. It's excessive caretaking. It's a lot of this stuff, and that's that cognitive dissonance of clinging to a relationship and doing whatever it needs to happen in order to make it work. Cece says, I do not trust myself to make good decisions right now. Okay, that is good because you probably, nobody, not even you, like nobody, when you're under that much stress on so many, in so many different ways with your house and with money and with this relationship and all of it, nobody would be thinking clearly with all that stuff going on. Stress, like, it can make a person's brain feel like mashed potatoes. And this is why they, quote unquote, they say after you go through a divorce, like, make no major life changes for 6 months to a year. Like, don't up and quit your job, don't move cross country, don't sell a house, don't buy a house, don't buy a zoo like that one movie. Don't do stuff like that. And that's the danger with stress, is because when we're in it, it's like this, again, this fog settles in, and we're in this scramble to try and get out of it, and to make our, to get traction in our life. But we're taking this action thinking that it's helping, but it's not. If anything, it tends to make things worse because we're not thinking clearly. So it's good that you realize that you're not thinking clearly. This is all about you. So, like, this time right now is just about breathing and self-soothing and staying calm and just focusing on kind of getting calm and getting out of that scramble, right? So just getting as much stability back in your life, realizing that you can move forward, getting out of that scramble. Cecilia says, and don't get a drastic haircut because you may regret it, but hair grows. Hair does grow, but yes, nothing drastic. Good for you. Cece says, a man hit on me at Goodwill. He asked for my number. I just said I had none I could give out. He gave me his. I just said no. That's good. That's good. Because, and and even if you do meet somebody, because I come across this often too in these chats and in the support group and stuff. Even if you do, if it's meant to be, it will work out and they will wait for you to heal. So I think a lot of people, they might meet a guy who's, again, it's, I was there too, where it's like Prince Charming. And so they tell themselves, well, I don't want my issues to impede or to ruin this potentially great relationship. So I am just going to keep moving full steam ahead and then just deal with my issues because I have issues. Like, if this relationship is healthy and it's going to work, that person will wait. Like, don't try to rush anything. Again, this is 100% about you right now. So, toxic relationship says, my name is no, my sign is no, my number is no, you better let it go. Yeah, I like that. So, good. Cecilia says, this is really helpful for me right now. I needed to hear that. Good. Good, good, good. Yeah, because it takes a while for us to get traction in our life. And the guy that I dated after Steve, it was shortly after him. He was a super nice guy. Like, there was nothing narky about him at all, but I was not that attracted to him. And I dated him for probably about 6 months, and I kept thinking to myself, like, I should be attracted to him because he's so nice and he's so cute and we have so much in common, but there just wasn't that chemistry there. And I felt terrible, and then, like, I don't know. It's a mess. So if you date, try to date before you're ready. It's like either you're going to get hurt or you're going to hurt somebody else. And either way, that sucks, So it's just better off just going slow and working on you. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's it for tonight. It's 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. So I got to get to bed before I turn into a pumpkin. Um, but so yes, the channel, everything has changed names for those of you that came in late. So it's changed now to Thrive After Abuse, because the new direction with everything is going to be focus on our thriving and moving forward and positivity and all of it. So still going to be covering, um, you know, all of the red flags, and I'm going to be doing actually probably a lot more of the education and awareness piece of it, because I think that is so important. But the name is changing, so it's just something more positive. So, Toxic Relationship says, Dana, that's at midnight that you turn into a pumpkin. No, it's not for me. If anything, it's probably more like 9:30. So Nick says good night. Good night, Nick. Good night, guys. Adrian, thank you so much for being my PR assistant. So, and Kevin says yes. Thrive After Abuse covers more than just narcissism too, so it'll reach more people. And that's part of what I'm hoping, because really the vast majority of abusive people are narcissists, and people that are in abusive relationships just don't realize it. So, I'm really excited about it. So, good night, guys, and good night, Doug. Just saw that you're still here. Pink Pixie and Cece, you guys take care, and just lots and lots and lots of love to you guys. Just know that you are not alone in this. You are not crazy, and that you really, really can heal. You really, really can. Reach out for help, because you are not alone. And this too shall pass. It really, really will. You know? And remember the whole thing of, you will never, ever, ever look back at this point in your life and think to yourself, boy, I really wish I would have worried about that more. Never, not once. So take care of yourself, you guys. I'll see you soon. I'll see you in the support groups. Take care.